Hi, hello. Welcome, Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us as we rock and roll. It is Terrific Tuesday. Another day, another dollar, at least if you're outside of state. Anyway, great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline, of course, always. The Hickson has it hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. All right, at 9:35, something like that, we will have Mr. Brett Guyman would join us, and we'll talk a little bit about the economy and things that you've heard us talk about here for a long time. And really there's two reasons that we're struggling financially with the state, and none of them have to do, like the press keeps trying to tell us, that we cut taxes, did this. And that's all a bunch of bunk. Two reasons. Number one is we overspend, and our state has a bad overspending problem. I'll get to that in a minute. And number two, which is even as bad or worse, our economy has been in decline for the last 2 years because we don't focus on that. That's not the focus. The focus for us is how do we grow that state government to keep on spending no matter what the economy does. And that is that's headed to disaster. To continue to listen to these elected officials and the press and the media tell you that, well, we cut taxes during the general years, and all that's a bunch of bunk. We have a spending problem. The Constitutional Convention is not going to fix that, and I'll get to that a little later as well. So, anyway, Brett will be here. He can talk more to how government in the state has grown twice that of our economy. Folks, I'm telling you the truth. The Jim Beam piece is a joke. Something from Greg Hilvin is to be laughed at. The people in the Advocate and Times-Picayune don't give a dang about telling you the truth. I will. I will when it hurts me. What would be my reason to lie? I'm not trying to get any tax dollars out of it. I want you to keep more of your dang money. I want you to have it in your pocket. And I want to fix the things that we're supposed to fix, like roads. And if we're going to fund education, fund it properly. And if we're going to fund special need people that I saw yesterday, I told y'all what yesterday would be. It'd be doom and gloom. Doom and gloom, doom and gloom. Tell all these poor people, tell all the people with disabilities. And by the way, I have a daughter with disability, and I read all this stuff yesterday, and I'm right there with you because I have the same problems. I go through the same situations. I've been fortunate and blessed to stay on top of it. Been very blessed and fortunate by the grace of God and by his mercy. But some of these stories I heard with seizures and all that, I go through this every day. I know what they're going through. And here's the problem. My friends that have special needs children that need help, the governor, both the governors, co-governor Darden, and the legislature has been using y'all every year just to get more tax monies than ever funded properly. And you ought to be mad at them. You ought to be mad at them, not the ones sitting over there, not trying to beat up the Republicans like Jim Beam and Tyler Bridges and all these people try to do. They bring you to the Capitol so the press can write about all these stories that'll make you cry. Trust me, we've shed a lot of tears at our house, including me. So I understand where you're going. I'm there with you. But here's the problem with it. Your kids are not a priority. Disability kids are not a priority to the state government and to Bell Edwards. Re-election is. If that was a priority, you read the stories. Louisiana budget woes spawn a heart-wrenching yearly ritual. Brandon, when they say a yearly ritual, I might be wrong. I don't have Common Core English and math, but does yearly ritual seem to you mean every year?
Yes.
But if you were a priority, why would it be every year? Every story started every year they come. That was Melinda Desolate. A difficult hearing public begs Louisiana lawmakers for health care help. Nursing home patients warn. They get letters. The frantic panic that sets in. They want you to panic. They want you to go beat up on some Republican legislators to raise taxes, and it's not the answer. The cancer in all this thing is a spending problem that the legislature and this governor and the co-governor, which, by the way, has been a failure, won't ever address. Jim Beam's article never addresses spending. The Advocate never addresses spending. Matter of fact, Here it is, and this is almost in every article. Louisiana has struggled through decade of budget gaps as tax cuts and tax breaks siphon away billions from the state treasury. And declining oil prices worsen the blow. Well, they don't tell you that. And by the way, the governor is trying to sue the hell out of every oil company his lawyer buddies can get their hands on. They don't tell you that. You see, folks, and I'm there with you. But let me tell you what is going to be funded. And this is what I mean by priority. It's not raising taxes that'll get you money. We ought to put it on a ballot. What are we going to raise money for and what we want to cut? We got to make a choice. So let me give you some. Do we fund, and as I read this stuff, people they got seizures, sometimes 100 in a day. I mean, folks, if I never saw another seizure again, it would be a blessing. Trust me. People with seizures, people that came up wearing helmets, people that with brain damage. Just over and over again with a story after story after story of difficult situations because we don't have the money to fund it. When we really have the money to fund it, what we do is we want these people to make their, quote, yearly ritual to come to the Capitol and have to beg for money so lawmakers like Bill Edwards and Jay Dunn can sit back there and smile and say, well, y'all going to raise taxes now when we don't have to raise taxes. We got a spending problem. And our economy, by the way, as I shared the other day, and Brett Guyman, we'll talk a little bit more about it when he comes on. The GDP has been negative, minus for 2 years in the state. While government has grown by $5.4 billion. We don't have enough money to fund these programs to help these young kids out. So here's what we ought to do. Let's put it on the ballot. I'm going to ask you folks. You had to go vote. We can fund the Saints, the New Orleans Saints, or we can fund to help these young children and these kids and adults with these disabilities. What do you think if we put it on a ballot, who would win? You think we would fund the New Orleans Saints or we would fund these kids? Let me ask you another question. Let's say we looked at Poverty Point, the home of the fee, Francis Thompson, on a lake he cashed in on. Do you think people would say we should fund the lake that you and me paid for, the reservoir, whatever you want to call it? You think we would fund a golf course over there? Or we would fund the new hotel, state hotel we built. This is our choices. Thompson gets millions of dollars for that area that the state ought not be paying a penny. So should we fund that or should we fund these kids that are having seizures? I'm just curious. If we put it on the ballot, who do you think would win? But old Francis is back there, greedy, grabbing fee, is grabbing every penny he can get for his area. He's been doing it for 40-something years. Okay, highway robbery. And yet we're sitting here going, what do we fund? We can't fund these kids. We can't fund these programs because they need these people to keep coming back so they can keep growing government as our economy declines. It doesn't make any sense, folks. But if you put it on a ballot, I feel like the kids would win. But it is on the ballot. But the elected officials aren't telling you the money they bring home for a golf course. They don't tell you about the money they bring home for a new bike path. Well, let's put it on a ballot. We want golf courses and bike paths, or do we want to have money for these kids? Because apparently all this other stuff's going to be funded. They don't talk to you about that. So we bring these people in there, and we hear these heart-drenching stories. I heard one today. Years ago, this guy was a freshman legislator, and he went to one of these functions that they put on, and all these stories, and these people came up and gave these heart-wrenching stories. Folks, I live it. They're tough. I don't talk about it much, but I live that. God, I live it. That's my bride. So I know what they're saying. But years ago, the elected official said, look, I went to this thing. And he said, man, it will make you cry. These drenching, heart-drenching stories. And one lady got up after telling a story, and she just made a comment, but I hear the Saints will fund it totally. Make sure your mic's on, man. Maybe it's not. Okay, you good. Let's make sure everything else is funded because stuff is being funded. You don't know. I'll give you an example. Where they played the Zurich Classic, that golf course over there that John Alario and them helped. That was the worst deal we ever made. We helped build it. Then we gave it to somebody to run. They run it into the ground and bankrupted. So we bought it. We spent $27 to $30 million, and now we hired the people that bankrupted. And we're funding that every year. We fund it every year. Nobody talks about that. But if we had a vote, do we fund the Zurich Classic or do we fund these kids that need help? What do you think we would vote on, folks? The heart-wrenching stories will always be there. And nobody has a problem taking care of the people that can't take care of themselves. But we don't talk about what we're spending money on instead of this. So we bring these people out and act like we don't have any money. Let the Saints come out there and let Francis Thompson talk about the place, and let's decide where this money goes. They don't want to talk about what I'm talking about, but I can talk about it. And we're going to do something about it, too. We'll be right back. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Jump gears just for a few minutes. Mr. Mike Fontenot joins us, Sirius Technology. You hear me brag about them all the time. If you're looking for a generator, these are the guys that you definitely want to get in touch with. Mike, but you're looking for some help right now, I guess.
Yeah, Moon, we are. Listen, you promoting us has been so effective that hardly a day goes by without a phone call from someone somewhere in Louisiana saying they heard you talking about us. So we're getting busier, and that means we need more good people to join our team.
That's awesome. Awesome. So what you're looking for right now, Mr. Mike?
Listen, Moon, we're looking for an experienced generator technician, at least one. He needs to have experience troubleshooting problems with the generator. He needs to have experience repairing and being able to do installations on residential and small commercial generators. As a result of that, we offer a competitive salary. We've got some great health plans, a couple of choices. One, we pay 92% of the cost. Paid vacation, 2-week paid vacation after 1 year. They get paid holidays and opportunities for advancement since we are a growing company.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, give it out one more time, and let's talk about how to get in touch with you, Mr. Mike.
Great. They can apply directly online at SiriusUSA.com. That's SiriusUSA.com. Or they can call and ask for Brent Vidrine. Yeah, another Vidrine. We got too many of those around here. You can reach him at 855-322-3222.
All right, pretty simple, 855-322-3222. And I'll save the number, too, Mike, if anybody's interested in auto work generators and got some experience. You guys are growing, and that's a good thing in our state, I promise you.
Perfect, Moon. And listen, since we've been getting so many calls, I'm going to let you off the hook for blowing me off for lunch so many times here in the recent past.
Well, I'll tell you what, my schedule, you're not the only one. My schedule's been kind of crazy. And I've not done many luncheons, I promise you. But the thing about it is y'all were going to pay, which really upsets me.
Well, again, you missed some monster-sized crawfish last week.
I know. I was in Lake Charles that day, brother. And everybody listening to this program, all 115 people knew I was in Lake Charles, by the way. So I got 115 witnesses at least.
Yeah, man, I'm just messing with you.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Hey, Moon, thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Right. Thank you very much. All right. Sirius Technology, one of those growing companies here. Bill Evans and them will get out the way. Just think the growth of everybody's. A couple quick things on this deal. I just wish we'd put the right things on the ballot. I know there are people in need, people that we would want to help more than the Saints, more than a lake and a reservoir and Francis Thompson and John Alaria and all these deals. Cut Purple Circle Social Club got $50,000. Who the heck is that? It was a nothing out of Baton Rouge. We got NGOs in the hundreds of millions and billions of dollars that we don't do nothing about. Why don't we put on the ballot, can we cut state contracts by 10%, as John Kennedy said, that Jay Dorn was supposed to get back to us, he never did. And that'll bring in about $350, $400 million, and can we use that for that? I think we would vote for that. Just cut back on state contracts. Why don't somebody like Jay Darden, who went from $115,000 a year, and his retirement was going to be almost $9,000 a month, to $237,500, whereas the retirement's going to be, somebody told me it's over $14,000. I said 16, 18, whatever, 14, 18. Why don't he get back some of his money to help these people? He didn't need all that. Folks, I'm telling you, we could put stuff on the ballot left and right for things that we want to fund, like these young kids and some of these older people that have these disabilities that we know we want to help these people. instead of sending them to Baton Rouge and being used every year. Just outright used, begging for money. You know? They had one guy, Brandon played it yesterday, 60 years old. What am I going to do? Who's going to help me survive? Said Travis Stafford, a 60-year-old Baton Rouge resident with cerebral hemorrhaging as a child and suffered with seizures and has damaged his brain. He wore a helmet, sat at the table. You know? One story after another. Now, look, Eric LaFleur, finance chairman, who handled it, who made sure we had people like this coming up there. He wants them there. But Eric LaFleur says it makes us look pretty heartless. I'll tell you what makes us look heartless, Mr. LaFleur. It's not heartless watching these people come up here. It hurts us all. What's heartless is y'all spending money on stuff that most of us would disagree on, and you're not funding these people, and that they have to come back and beg for it because lawmakers set this up. We have a massive spending problem in the state of Louisiana. And let me tell you something. The tax increases that Bel Edwards wants. Remember, he wanted $500 million more than he needed in a special session. $500 million more than he needed. Why? Because it's about buying votes. And they send these people there, and this is what happens. And Eric LaFleur is guilty of it, too. He brings all these people in front of the finance committee. And then once this money's passed in the special session to fund them, then he's going to say, see, we took care of y'all. From the mean Republicans, from those mean people that didn't want to fund y'all, we took care of y'all. And the bottom line is it's not true. They're the ones that make you come up there begging because we have a massive spending problem, and we're spending money on things that most of us would reject to give to these kids and to give to these adults. They don't have a heart. They're the ones heartless. They play a game with these people. They play games with them. You call that compassion? That's selfish is what they're doing. It's about them being reelected, including the co-governorship. I'm right, folks. You know I'm right. We got to take a break. Brett Guyman joins me about the GDP and stuff like that when we get back. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Former rep, businessman, business owner, Brett Guyman joins me. Brett, how you doing, bud? Brett, you there?
I am.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know me, I'm always serious.
Brett's speechless after what you told him off the air.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I bet he is speechless. All right, Mr.
I am.
All right, Mr. Guyman, I've had you on here basically your whole term, except when you got mad at me for being nice to you. But that's another subject for another day. Brett, we talked about our economy. You came on here with numbers, you and Cameron Henry and Lance Harris and Blake Miguez, how our economy was growing half about what government's growing in state government. And then we get this. Louisiana posts the worst economy in the country, down 0.2% last year, down 0.4% the year before, as the nationwide economy grew by 2.1%. And actually, if you look at Texas, they grew like in the South, they grew like 2.9%. And yet, how do we figure that we need more money to give to government? I want to know, man, these numbers are telling a lot of stuff here.
And Moon, there's no doubt that report that came out solidifies and backs up everything that you've been talking about on your show for quite some time. And you left out one other person, was Representative Bob Hinskins, who actually worked on a draft of a bill to tie the economy to our state spending. And unfortunately, it's a very complex issue and takes some time to get that out there and get people educated on it. But it's something that we've all been talking about for at least 2 years. And that is that you can't spend more money on a consistent basis than the economy can sustain. And then everybody's eyes kind of glass over when you start talking about that. But the reality is what those numbers show in that report that you just read is that the economy grows at a certain pace. And if we spend money at a faster pace, that gap gets further and further apart, and you end up chasing revenue all the time, which is what we've been doing now as long as I can remember. In the past decade, for sure, we've been chasing revenue. And chasing revenue means only one thing. They're coming after you and me to give more money out of our disposable income.
Yeah, but, it's a little worse than that when you look at it, Brett. We're talking about overspending if the economy is growing. According to this report, and the GDP has gone, our GDP for 2 years has gone down. Our government grew by 5.2 to 5.4 billion, and they all get us federal money. That's a lot of state money. We raised taxes in 2016. We raised 1.8 billion of the 2.4 billion that was raised in the 50 states. So our economy was going down, and we're still raising taxes, and the government's still growing. It's no way for that to work out.
It just doesn't work, Moon. And, you know, in short term, when you have a disaster and you're recovering, or, you know, some event takes place that in short term, you know, you can sometimes get around that. But long term, you cannot outspend what the economy can sustain. What ends up happening is that the government begins to take so much money out of the economy that it has a negative impact on the economy, which I think is what's happening here in Louisiana. And the reason that, first off, Moon, look at the whole nation. How can we possibly be only one of a handful of states that's going the wrong direction in the growth of the economy?
Actually, it's only three states. 3 states have done this.
Yeah,
only 3.
And you and I have used this number before. We're number one in per capita spending in all the southern states.
Yep.
We spend more money per person than any other state around us, and we've been doing that. Something is not right. And you and I have talked about numbers, and unfortunately numbers are boring to most people, and they don't, you know, you can't talk too deep about it because people just, you know, they lose concentration and forget about what's going on with it. But the point is, this article proves what we've been talking about. You have to have some benchmark about what you can spend in state government that ties it to what the economy can afford to sustain. And we just haven't been doing that. In fact, Moon, we have spreadsheets that we've done with the staff at the Capitol for back to 1990. 1990 moving forward, looked at every agency, every department, looked at their spending year after year after year, compared it to personal income growth, state GDP, consumer price index, and population growth, and it doesn't matter what number you use or how you weigh them, how you put them in a formula, we're outspending and outpacing every single economic indicator. Some of those departments have grown, as you've said many a times, double the rate of the economy growth.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. You know, I read in this article that Louisiana's $246 billion economy now remains nearly 6% smaller than 2010. This is 2018. So if it's 6% smaller, that means we're taking in $14 to $15 billion less. That's going to affect the tax base. It's going to affect it because, and I'm telling you, show me an economy where government leads the way and the private sector comes behind it. I want to know what economy did that. Now I know why the co-governorship. Venezuela's doing very well. They got one chicken on the whole damn place now. My God. But listen to this. So our governor, and this is how bad it is. Our governors, 2 of them, and by the way, the co-governorship just ain't working well. The governors and the press, the printed press, have been trying to tell us that the growth in Medicaid is creating jobs and helping lead our economy. Well, when does it help everybody else? First of all, that's not true. It's impossible for that to happen. But, you know, you had people really put that out there as fact.
It's amazing, Moon, with what they put out there to try to counter what this real, true economic data is showing. And I know you and I have talked about this time and time again, but what's got to happen is the economy number of growth in the economy has got to be what we use as a benchmark. We have to decide how much money, and I ask this question all the time, what is the right amount of money that you should extract from the taxpayer? And that has to come from some kind of data, and that would be the data that you're talking about in this article. Once we determine how much money we ought to be raising in revenue, then, Moon, we can prioritize how we spend our money, and we ought to take care of the things that are important and the things that ought to be taken care of first. And then when you run out of money, all these other little projects and these other things that we do just don't get funded. And right now what happens is we fund everything and then we go chase the revenue. And it's totally backwards to what we ought to be doing.
Now, something I talked about earlier, I got a special needs child. Yesterday was doom and gloom day. They brought in all these people that really need help, okay? People with seizures, people with brain damage, all this stuff that me and you are willing to help. It's amazing how we fund that last. Because I guarantee you there's money going to lakes and reservoirs and golf courses and the Purple Circle Social Club and NGOs all over the state. Nobody's talking about that. They're just talking about how to get more revenue to go help these people. But if these people, and Eric LaFleur said this is heartless. No, what's heartless is fund the Saints, but don't fund these kids.
You just nailed it, Moon, and that's exactly what we ought to be doing. We ought to be taking care of the people that need to be taken care of, because that is our responsibility to do that. That should be priority.
Brett, let me ask you a question. Let's say we did it right and we took care of all these people, and I'm talking about really need, okay?
Right.
And that was all funded. And they said, okay, guys, we need to raise taxes to fund the Saints, raise taxes to fund Thompson's Lake and Reservoir and Golf Course. People would say, what? Are you crazy? But that's not what we do. We fund all this stuff, and you know yourself, Brett, they're funding things that if people knew about them, we would be mad at. But we don't ever hear about those. We only hear about these people that are desperate for their money because they have special need children or even a special need adult. That's when we start hearing it. But we don't hear about the things that are being funded right now that you and I both know we would never want our tax dollars to go to.
There's no question about that. And what ends up happening is that the administration will come out and say, oh, these evil conservatives over here, the party of no, and whatever, all these names they give us, just want to cut all these things that, close hospitals and close nursing homes and kick people out on the street and people are going to die. That is absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. What conservatives want, Moon, is for you to spend your money on the priorities and to live within what the economy can sustain. That's all we ever ask. We don't mind paying taxes as long as it's a fair number and based on something. And we want to take care of things that ought to be taken care of first. If we can't afford the rest of those things, then that's just the way it is.
But we can't afford it, but we can't afford any more taxes. Our economy has shrunk for 2 years straight.
No question.
If it's shrinking, why in the heck are we trying to grow government? Government has to follow jobs and business growth. If you got it the opposite, boom, Venezuela and Cuba. Let me take a break.
No doubt.
Brett Guyman, my special guest. We'll come back and visit with him for one more segment. Hickson has a hotline. He is on right now. We'll take a break. Be right back. Welcome back, Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. On the Hickson has it hotline, a man who said he's not going to any island with me. Brett
Can you blame him?
I don't want to go anywhere with you, let alone an island.
Alaska.
I mean, just to be blunt.
I guess Alaska's out.
Yeah, the cruise is out. That's fun, though.
I was just checking on it. Appreciate it, Brett Guy.
Well, you got to stay bundled up in Alaska, though. So,
I know. That's why I was asking him. Anyway, having fun. 844-766-6607. Hickson has an outline. One of the things to add on top of this, economy's down last 2 years. It's a fact. I'm not celebrating this. I'm sick about this. But to think the government can grow more and more and more with the economy going down, people quit looking. We're out-migrating state again. We're only one of 8 states that out-migrate. We're out-migrating with California, New York, Illinois. Those are 3 of the biggest states that have the biggest out-migration. They're running from those states. But the people that are leaving here aren't running. They're leaving because they got to have a job. They got to have a job.
No question, Moon, and you're right about something you just said. We're not celebrating this report.
No, this is sick. Makes me mad.
It's something that we've warned about, something that we've talked about, and something that needs to be addressed. And until we limit the amount of revenue the state government can raise on the taxpayers, benchmarking that to the economy, indexing it to the economy in some way, we're going to continue to have this problem of chasing revenue year after year after year. And that's one of the reasons, not to shift attention to another topic, but that's one of the reasons I'm concerned about the talk about the state constitutional convention is no one's talking about doing exactly what you and I have just talked about needs to be addressed. Until you address that problem, you are not going to fix any of these problems that we have with the budget. Every single year, you're going to be chasing revenue, gloom and doom, fiscal cliff, push grandma over the cliff in a wheelchair. All these things are going to continue to happen every single year until we address that problem.
Well, let's face it. If we don't correct the business climate here and get the lawyers from suing all companies out, if you don't do that, you're not going to have a good enough economy. You can change the Constitution. You can change the way we tax people. You can change all that. It's not going to correct the problem. It's not going to correct it in the short term or the long term. You realize that with this governor or co-governorship, they've not talked about fixing one thing. All they ever talk about is revenue. Period. Nothing else.
That's all I hear for the past 2 years for sure, and maybe longer, is how do we raise more revenue? And every time I read an article in the major media, every time I go to an event with, and I hate to use the word bureaucrat, but with bureaucrats, with a higher education or any kind of government-funded agency, all I hear is we need more revenue, more revenue, more revenue. And that's not really the case according to the numbers that you have been given out on your show today. The numbers suggest that we're spending too much money based on the amount of revenue the economy can produce.
Okay.
And that is the whole problem.
Brett, think about this.
The whole problem.
You run a business. I know you run a business, you and your bride. And let's just say sales have gone down for the last 2 years, $100,000. But let's just say, well, Brett, that's tough tata. 2 years ago, you were paying X amount of dollars in taxes, and we want you to keep paying that much in taxes. And you go, hold up, my sales are down $100,000. How do I pay the same amount of taxes I did when I was doing $100,000 more? And they look at you and say, your problem. And that's what the state government's doing. We got to have more. But the economy's gone down. We got $15 billion less in our economy now than we had since 2010. And the bottom line is our economy's going down. We have less money. We can't pay as much. And the government looks at you and says, no, you're going to pay us more because we have to have it. Now, is my example cuckoo, or is it pretty much what's happening?
Yeah, well, sometimes you're cuckoo, but the example...
I didn't say all the time.
Okay.
But is that not an example that you pay... That you pay, you're gonna pay more, but you got less coming in. That's what the state government's asking us to do.
You know, and I keep asking that question to the folks that I discuss this with is what you know, they say, well, we have to have more money because we have to fund health care. We have to have more money because we have to fund education. We have to have more money because whatever. Where are you going to get the money? It ultimately comes back to me, the taxpayer. And like I tell them, my health insurance is twice my home mortgage. It's ridiculous.
You know,
that is completely...
Mine's not twice, but it's close. I didn't even think about that, Brett.
That completely comes out of your disposable income.
Yep.
I have less money available today than I did 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And yet you want to come back to me to take more of mine. We're having to work longer hours to compensate for the fact that our expenses are much higher now than they have historically been. So, but you keep coming back to me and wanting more from me. And I say, why do you feel like you can come and ask me for more? I mean, and they never can answer that. And I also ask this question: what is the right amount of money? Is it $32 billion, $40 billion, $50 billion? I mean, when does it stop? And if you don't benchmark it to the economy in some way, index it to the economy, time it to personal income growth, GDP, consumer price index, population growth, any of those indicators that show what the economy is doing, you continually will have this problem of chasing revenue year after year after year after year.
By the way, Brett, if you would have had it indexed to the GDP, that means the last 2 years government would have had to do with less because the private sector is producing less.
No question, which is what we've been arguing.
Yeah.
You know, remember the standstill budget?
Yep.
Was it last year? Or
By the way,
before?
that would have been a great idea. That would have been an awesome idea if they'd done it.
Would have been a great idea. It was a great idea. It didn't pass. And that would have been a piece of the puzzle of starting to solve this problem of letting the economy catch up to state spending. And now that was a one-year fix, but again, it's something that needed to be done. The legislature and the administration chose not to do it. And here we are again, same drama year after year after year.
You know, I talked about it before you came on with the kids, the anxiety they sent, like to this hospital over here. 770 people could lose their job. Then the nursing home letters are going out Thursday that we may not be able to use this anymore. So why would they export to these people or send out anxiety letters, fear letters? Because they want them to come back and say, we got to have more money. But there's no fear letters on a golf course. You know, there's no fear letters on a lake and a reservoir. There's no fear letters on the Purple Circle Social Club. I'll be honest with you.
You're right.
I'll be honest with you. There's no fear letters saying we're going to cut funding for Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. I'm all for the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. State of Louisiana will not be spending a penny, not one penny. And I guarantee you.
It all goes.
Go ahead.
It all goes back to what we said earlier about the priorities. And the thing is, when you send out letters that you're going to be cutting health care, you're going to be closing nursing homes, you're going to be putting people out on the street, it's political fear. It works. It's effective. It has been historically. But the real question ought to be, did you send the Benson family one?
Yep.
Did you send the Benson family one about the New Orleans Saints and the Pelicans? Love the Pelicans, love the Saints, whatever.
Yeah.
Glad they're here. Don't want to leave. But should we be sending them money when we're not taking care of the people who need to be taken care of? The answer to that, Moon, is no. But we don't do things right in this state, and we do things backwards. And until we fix that, until we index it, until we put our priorities first, we're going to continue to have the discussion every single session, every single year.
And the Constitutional Convention is not fixing any of this.
In my opinion, no. In my opinion, you fix it in the legislature with a bill. You do it out in the public. You advertise it. You educate the public on it, and you see what the will of the voters is, and that's how you do it. You can easily do that now. A convention, in my opinion, is not going to get the job done. It's going to be controlled by certain groups of people, unfortunately. The taxpayer is going to be underrepresented in that convention. Just the whole drama of electing the delegates, I think, is a disaster. How do you get the outsider there? How do you get the average guy there? Almost impossible. I know you've talked about that on your show, but I just see lots of logistics issues with having a constitutional convention. I agree that the problems need to be addressed, but I think you can do that with a package of bills much easier than you can in a convention.
By the way, if I had $2 million right now and I said, okay, Brett, we can give it to the Boy and Girl Scouts or the disability group, who would you give the money to?
You'd have to give it to the disabilities group, Moon, because that's our responsibility to take care of people who can't take care of themselves.
Yeah, last week they were debating how much money to give to the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, and I went unglued. I love them, but that's not a state function. The disability with kids that can't help themselves and parents that can't afford it, that's a whole new ball game.
No question. No question. We have our priorities upside down.
Brett, God bless. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Moon. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Hope to see you on an island one day. Good. Don't let him answer. We'll be right back. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon and Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. It's the Hickson Hazard Hotline. I appreciate Brett Garman being part of the program with us. Oh, man. No Landrieu in office in the state of Louisiana. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! What a celebration. They had a banner that flew over yesterday when they were doing the swearing-in inauguration of the new Democrat successor. The banner called outgoing Democrat mayor, according to Breitbart, Mitch Landrieu, worst mayor ever. And I tell you, I don't know if he's the worst, but he's bad. And he was horrible. Mitch Landrieu, worst mayor ever, read the banner with a single-engine plane flew over Cantrell's ceremony yesterday. And look, the best thing happened to New Orleans is Mitch Landrieu left. The crime rate there ought to make people just cringe to know what that guy did to that city. And look, everything he tried to do was begging and bringing home federal money. They couldn't. I mean, last year they flooded the city with a 5-inch rain. I mean, just hard. And this guy is supposed to be the number one El Presidente candidate. You know that? Because, and this is when I say use blacks, the Landrieux have been using the black vote in the inner city in New Orleans for 40, 50 years. Use them. And now what he did was, by writing his book dealing with racism and getting rid of the monuments and statues, he just used the blacks again. They've been using them and misusing them and abusing them and leaving them right there for 40 years. And it's just beat goes on. Now we're going to misuse everybody around the whole country so I can be the president of the United States. If that becomes president of the United States, God forbid what happens with crime, economy, hell, flooding. This guy didn't fix anything. Didn't fix anything. Let him go run for president. I know this. He can't win here statewide, or he'd be running statewide. Can't even get close. There's also a report, WWL, who will run for governor of Louisiana. 15 months away from qualifying, folks. I told y'all this thing's going to be here before you know it. And we'll have a new governor. This time next year, we'll be easing toward having a new governor. Speculation, the Republican U.S. Senator John Kennedy would challenge the one-term governor, Bill Edwards. Poster John Cavillion. maybe Cuvier.
Cuvier.
I was going to say, could be Cuvier. Says Kennedy was elected as a senator in 2016. Edwards' re-election campaign, while likely attacked the Republican from St. Tammany's Parish, was running for another statewide office. You know what, though, Brian? That goes in one hand out the other. We want to know who can change the state and not keep growing the government as the economy goes down. Also, by the way, why are they saying what Edwards is going to run on, Brandon? You know all the things that Kennedy can run on? Because they don't put that. They're going to just question John, and he's running for another office. But what about all the things that this governor has done? The tax increases, the continual tax increases, leading an economy in the damn hellhole. Another potential candidate, U.S. Representative Ralph Abraham from Richland Parish. He's a congressman. 53 or 55% of the vote is cast in Baton Rouge and New Orleans media markets. Getting elected governor from the strength of Alexandria and Monroe media markets, that's not enough. This is this guy. Cuvier says the big challenge for Governor Edwards is there are 41,600 fewer Democrats registered to vote now compared to when he was elected. Check that out, Brandon. Almost 42,000 less Democrats. Remember, they won't be able to pick on Vitter this time. You're not going to have Jay Dart to be out there knifing Kennedy in the back next. One thing about that Republican, he's going to knife a Republican. He knows how to do it. He's a professional Republican stabber in the back. Jay Dart is. And of course, for $237,500 a year, making his retirement somewhere between $14,000 and $18,000 the rest of his life, hey, hell, I might have done it too. Of the 41,000 figure, there are 54,000 less white Democrats. In other words, there's been a 9% attrition in 2.5 years. Brandon, 54,400 less white Democrats. Those people are not going to turn around and vote for all these Republicans and give the governorship to Bell Edwards again. It's not happening, folks. And let me tell you something else. Don't worry when they tell you and the press is shoved down our throat for 3 years, Bell Edwards is raising all his record money and raising all his money. There's not many governors raised that year. This is a red state. And this red state is going to be we're going to see a lot of money coming in from all over the country to be Bell Edwards because redistricting is in 2020. And we better not have a liberal, leftist, trial lawyer Democrat helping lead the way on redistricting. That would be one of the dumbest things the voters, including myself, have ever done. And that, my friend, you better remember. By the way, termite swarm is everywhere. There's been news stories on it all over. And I saw a news story out of Lake Charles, and of course they interviewed J&J Exterminating. J&J Exterminating, if you see a swarm of termites, the Formosan termite is in high prime time right now, Brandon. If you're seeing matter of fact, you had a swarm a few years ago. I remember that. You saw it, you went, oh my God. And he called J&J Exterminator, and guess what? They came out there and treated and got rid of all that. So J&J Exterminating, if you got any kind of swarms that you're watching right now, especially with the Formosan termite, you need to get in touch with J&J Exterminating. In the article, which was KPLC, they were interviewing the branch manager for J&J Exterminating. And they've getting calls. A lot of people starting to look at these swarms and going, I wonder what that is. Well, guess what? You better call J&J. And they can help you all over the state. Yeah. All right. That's my friends at J&J. All right. So anyway, the governor's race will take care of itself next year. I think by the end of this year, we're going to know probably who's going to be in, who's out. I still think if Kennedy runs, you're going to see another couple of 3 candidates. I don't know who they're going to be. I mean, I don't know. Congressman Abraham is looking at it. Talking to somebody the other day. There's some other business people looking at some other candidates, so we'll see what happens in the governor's race. But I know this. Electing another liberal Democrat, trial lawyer sucking liberal Democrat, is not going to help this state. It's not going to help the oil and gas industry. It's not going to help our economy. People don't want to invest here. And, lawsuits on oil companies from these trial lawyers scan away everybody. They wonder if they're next. Folks, we don't have to be like this. We do not have to be like this. Our state's better than this. We need to create the economy for people to have jobs and stay right here in the great state of Louisiana. But we try to keep telling us we don't have a spending problem. We do. I've been telling y'all this for years. They're never going to admit it. The people in the press are never going to tell you this. They're never going to tell you the truth. They're too busy. They keep saying Republicans want Bell Edwards to get beat. I'm not a Republican. I'm independent. I want Bell Edwards to be beat. I mean, Brandon, I think everybody kind of sees where I'm going here. I don't think I'm hiding my thoughts here. So Republicans should want Bell Edwards to be beat. But if you want the economy, Democrats ought to want Bell Edwards to beat. Independents, Green Party. I don't care if you're in one of them environmental succubit parties. You ought to want Bell Edwards to be beat. If you don't want Bell Edwards to be beat, you're not watching what's going on. You're not. You don't have a clue what's going on. Are you political? It's a sin and a shame what's being done to this state. We need to stop our migration. You stop that with creating jobs. You want enough money to pay your taxes and pay for things? You have to grow an economy. It starts on the ground. It starts with people in this state prospering and doing well. That's where it has to start. And when it starts there, we'll build it from the ground up properly. It doesn't start from the government down. If the government, with the $5.4 billion increase in our budget, is supposed to lead the economy, how come the GDP don't turn and follow government? Because it can't, unless you're in Washington, D.C. Hell, they can print money. They can make people come up there and drop money on people left and right because they control stuff. This ought to not be happening here. This really shouldn't. Our jobs and businesses ought to be flourishing right now. They ought to be doing great. Oil and gas industry ought to be hiring people right now. People ought to be excited in this state. No, not us. We got to watch doom and gloom. Our yearly ritual has been called by the press. We got to send all the people with disabilities, all older people and young people, being told they're being thrown out of the rooms, thrown out of the hospitals. You're not going to have any benefit anymore if you don't get these rascal Republicans to raise taxes. But they're not telling you all the stuff behind the scene that they are funding. Saints, private projects. None of these lawmakers, Republicans included, want to tell you what they're funding and what money they help get for this program and that program. But see, if we had the Louisiana checkbook like the Ohio checkbook, which, by the way, I don't think we'll ever get that either. You know, Brandon, they passed that through the House in a special session and it died. Have you heard it passed in the regular session this year? Is it come back up so we can watch where every penny goes? Every penny. Then we would be going, hey, why can't we cut over here to help these kids? Not how can we raise more taxes on businesses and people here? That's crazy talk, folks. All right, we got to take a break. Jim in Denham Springs, John in White Castle. Y'all up next. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. We'll be right back. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Hey, I do want to mention my good friends at Stein. Everything for your home and yard. Better brands and lower prices. 30% off select major appliances right now. SteinHome.com. You need to go to it. They are brochures, folks, lined up to help you. There's one celebrating Mother's Day this Sunday. I'm telling you, they got gifts for moms like you wouldn't believe. And they're in the catalog and they're running sales. They got Spring for Green sale going on. They got, if you swim and you need stuff for your pool, they got that. Appliance sale, outdoor living sale, power equipment sale. Brandon, in other words, why go anywhere else? Go to steinhome.com, check it out, or go to one of their 11 great locations. They just have, by the way, you people that are fighting ants, they got Ortho Granules fire ant sale, killer sale right now going on, pretty cheap to kill your ants. And I hate ant. Brandon, I'm telling you, walk out in your yard and step in an ant bed is not fun. Wait till you have kids. And let me tell you something, stepping in ants are bad enough.
Yeah.
Watching your kids step in there and have to go over and get that off of them with them up in there dancing and hollering, that's even worse. Especially with little kids. Stein, everything for your home and yard, steinhome.com. Go to phone lines. Jim, Denham Springs, Louisiana. How you doing, Jim?
All right, Big Moon. Good to talk to you. Look, I'm like you. I have 2 daughters about to finish college, and I've been here my whole life, and I have no problem with them leaving this state. It's only getting worse, and economy built on government is not going to be sustainable. And Moon, you know, when me and you were young, we used to laugh at Mississippi. Well, guess what? Mississippi's laughing at us.
But it doesn't. You know what's sad, Jim? It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, we got so many resources and hardworking people in our culture. Nobody wants, really, people don't want to leave here. They leaving here because of the ignorance going out of Baton Rouge. But listen, if your government's going to go twice your economy, and then you find out your economy is going down as the government grows, that is a disaster. That is a picture playbook for disaster. And that's what frustrates me. I just don't think we ought to be doing this, but yet they telling us if me and you don't pay more taxes, we're going to put all these disability people out on the streets.
And you're right, Moon. And you know, look, I love people that work in government. But look, if that's the only jobs we're going to have if they don't get more business friendly. And you're going to run a younger generation out of here, and it's going to be nothing but old folks is what it's going to be.
Well, what you got is you're getting older, you're getting poorer. And the young people that want futures are looking at their job chances in the job market. If you got a shrinking economy, to go to Texas has added 285,000 jobs while we lost 14,000. I mean, it just doesn't work that way, man. It just doesn't work that way.
And it's like you said, Moon, the oil and gas industry. There's so much going on in Oklahoma and Texas and through that region, and we're just getting left behind, Moon. Well, it's heartbreaking, but you know.
But if you're gonna be a lawyer. You love the oil and gas industry because you just sue the hell out of them. And then once they finish with them, they sue. And by the way, they sue for everything dealing with automobiles, too. I mean, our automobiles going out. I mean, they got signs. They got signs now. Have you broke your toenail? Did somebody bump you at work? Yep. Call me. I'll sue them.
You're right, Moon. Between taxes and insurance, it puts the working man way behind the 8 ball. Moon, keep up the good fight, brother, and I'll see you.
All right, thank you so much. God bless. Big John in White Castle, Louisiana. John, how you doing, sir?
What do you say, my little brother? Listen, I need to correct you about something you just said. You said people are leaving the state because of what's going on in Baton Rouge. But your friend Mitch Landrieu said that they're leaving because of the Robert E. Lee statue. So,
oh, my God. But that sounds like something Mr. Morrow would say.
Yeah.
A failed mayor.
He said that the statues, the memorials in New Orleans were the main cause that people are leaving the city of New Orleans. Nothing to do with crime or any of the other things. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about.
How can he come up with...
Every once in a while I have to correct you.
Yeah, but how can he come up with that deduction when he allowed the city to flood on a 5-inch rain? You never thought maybe they might be leaving for ignorant decisions like that? 5-inch rain, they flooded New Orleans last year because the pumps didn't work. And look, he does an article on the Sewage and Water Board, how to fix it, and he was the mayor for 8 years, and they never fixed it. The flood happened last year. When he's leaving, he's telling them how to fix it. I've never seen so much ignorance in one place in my life.
Well, it's hereditary.
I agree with that.
Last week I went to the LCIA annual meeting in Baton Rouge, the Louisiana Chemical Industry Association. And Mr. Tim Harris, the plant manager at Eastman Chemicals in St. Gabriel, gave a stunning presentation about the economic benefits of industry and the industrial tax exemption program for attracting new industry. And it impacts not just the parishes as far as taxation because they get a lot of sales tax, et cetera, et cetera. It affects employment. It affects the school boards. The teacher pay in those parishes is higher. The economic activity in those parishes is higher. And if you thought it would be worthwhile, you might ought to call that guy and interview him. He's at the Eastman Chemical Company in St. Gabriel. And, of course, this communist organization, the Together Baton Rouge, is attacking the industrial tax exemption program. And they're a Saul Alinsky-based radical group, and they're masquerade as a religious organization, but they are not. So they're masquerading to try to get more benefits from the state and then grow the state government, and they blame it all on the industrial tax exemption program.
Yeah, well,
it's very much like playing a football game.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
It's very much like playing a football game against Texas and Mississippi and Arkansas and all the other states.
All right. Hold on. We'll get you a comment in a second. Hold on. Got to take a break. Hey, Law, welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. I'm telling you, Brandon, that thing blowing in Hawaii. By the way, that hurts. It does more harm to global warming than anything man could do. I don't know if you knew that or not.
You know, you mentioned global warming. I just came across something just a couple of minutes ago about global warming that'll definitely get you a little excited. Might make you nut up a little bit.
Hold up just a second. Let me finish with Mr. John. John, you were making an example of football, and I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, it's when we're competing against these other states, it's very much like playing a football game where one team has 5 yards to make a first down and you have 15. One team gets 10 points for a touchdown and you get 5. You can't win that kind of game. And I don't necessarily agree, but this tax exemption has been in effect since 1936. Yeah. It's not something that was just dreamed up, but it is something that induces industries to show up, hire people, spend a lot of money building plants and facilities, and it's a real economic development as opposed to some of the government stuff that these people want to call economic development.
But what they're doing too, John,
people just need to wake up and realize that we cannot prosper by growing government.
No, but that's what we're growing. And the economy and the GDP has went down for 2 years in a row. I can't say it enough. If your economy is going down and shrinking, you can't keep growing the government. The government's up since Bill Edwards been in office, $5.4 billion. We're spending $1.2 billion more than last year. I'm just telling you, you can't do that. But you can't tell him that because, let me give you an example. The press goes, Louisiana has struggled through a decade of budget gaps as tax cuts and tax breaks siphon off billions away from the state treasurer. They're saying that because of tax cuts and tax breaks, we took all this money and gave these companies, we would have this money to grow government. And the bottom line is these companies wouldn't be here. So, I mean, they got it bass backwards, and they don't understand. Jim Beam, these people in the press, they don't have a clue how economy works. They don't even want to have a clue. Unbelievable.
Well, these are the same people that believe government is the economy, and they don't realize fully what else really makes things work.
If the government
we'll keep fighting.
Thank you for the call. If government was the economy, we ought to be booming, man. We ought to be just blowing and going. But the economy pulls the government up. The government doesn't pull the economy up. The government, if it's bigger than the economy, pulls it down. We've seen it the last 2 years. You know, Brandon, I'm going to go back to my good friend Dallas Hickson. You've heard Dallas on this program many a time say, we're at the tipping point. We're at the tipping point. We're at the tipping point. He was an honest business guy. He was very honest. We're at a tipping point. And the tipping point is tipping over. You cannot have your GDP going down in the worst economy in the country, and that's not my word. That is the words of the Daily Advertiser, and that's the words of the Advocate. Not my words, their words. Okay? You cannot have the worst economy in the country for the last 2 years and grow the government at the same time. It never has worked. All right, Brandon, a little global warming nutting up, you said.
So there's a group of pediatricians that say that climate change poses the greatest risk to kids. Doctors say climate change poses the greatest health risk to children. A new study estimates children will bear nearly 90% of the burden of disease related to climate change. Here's Dr. Casper Amon from the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Colorado, who says, unfortunately, the study makes perfect sense. So the study's lead author points to Hurricanes Katrina, Harvey and Irma as extreme weather events blamed on climate change. He also cites extreme heat waves and emerging infections such as the Zika virus. There you go.
They gave the guy, that guy got a doctor in front of his name.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes.
He ought to have the Nut Award. I think, folks, this stuff is so dang idiotic and crazy. For them to really believe that climate change is going to hurt us. And it's going to hurt the kids. And 90%. I mean, this is a crazy guy. But yet, these are the people they call experts. I mean, just sick and tired. This is idiotic. Idiotic. Climate change. It's going to affect the kids of today and tomorrow, and they're going to take the biggest blood from when. And then we have massive hurricanes, which we've always had massive hurricanes come through, and all of a sudden the hurricanes are going to be worse. Oh, man. I mean, just idiotic. By the way, Connecticut voted to get rid of the Electoral College. I'm getting that from somebody, which is another dumb thing. I mean, man-made global warming, folks. I'm just going to sit here and cringe in my drawers. Oh, man, I'm so worried about man-made global warming. It's just going to hurt us all. You couldn't do nothing about the planet warming or cooling if we wanted to. And we won't ever be able to do nothing about it. That's like believing if the government grows, the economy will grow with it. Ask Venezuela how that's working out. Ask Spain how that worked out. Ask Cuba how that works out. Ask them. Go watch them. Go look at them. Go look at their economies. One day you're going to be able to say, boy, what happened to the United States of America? Well, we decided we're going to be like all other Marxist countries and all other utopias that are out there. If government would get a hold of everything would be great. Unbelievable. All right. Mike in West Monroe. How you doing, Mike?
Pretty good, Moon. How are you?
Doing fine, sir.
Hey, I wanted to make a comment. You were talking about, of course, the oil and gas industry and whatnot. Well, of course, I work in oil and gas, and I've seen it firsthand. We had a major gas producer here in North Louisiana that sold everything they had in Louisiana and got out. The company that bought them cut all the wages, cut everything, insurance, wages, you name it.
Yeah.
They cut everything across the board.
But let me tell you something. When companies buy other companies, a couple things to remember. Number one, it's theirs now. They can do whatever they want with it. And number two is that's normal. That's very normal. If I'm a company and I'm buying another company, and I'm a big company and I have an accounting department already, I don't need the accounting department. If I have a marketing department, I don't need the marketing department. What I want is the customers and the money it's going to bring. And if I can bring in some good employees from there, I will. But that's pretty much normal, the way that people cut like that. I mean, that's how companies operate. They buy, trim up, and try to grow it from there.
Well, no, I mean, I understand that, but actually this is the first time I've ever seen in the oil and gas industry that you cut pay when you buy a company. I mean, I'm talking, $8, $10 an hour for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And, you start looking at that amount of money that's gone, that's like, oh, that's hard. That's hard.
No, it is. No,
that's our wonderful state.
Yeah, I believe in what you're saying. It is hard. But, look, the oil and gas industry was hit hard because of the price that fell out. Now we're being hit hard with, and you can talk to anybody you want to, with lawsuits. And the lawsuits.
I think that's kind of the reason why this one got out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They're leaving. They are leaving. And I talked to one yesterday that said they were doing good and things were picking up. I said, that's great. He said, well, let me tell you the rest of the story. And the rest of the story was it is great. They're hiring and sending them to Texas and go to work. We need these people to work here.
Exactly.
And the lawsuits are being pushed by our governor from his lawyer buddies. I mean, they are they are trying to devastate this oil industry here. And if they're going to devastate it, that's a big part of who we are.
Well, but I mean, it just goes to show you how really honestly stupid the Democrats are, or demon rats, if you will.
Yeah, well, And one thing about them, they need as many dependent people as they can. So if you lose your job, maybe you'll come to them. Anyway, I got to run. Appreciate the call. You want to wait, Brian? Let's go ahead and take our break. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it. Hotline. Don't go away any, folks. Folks, it doesn't add up. Good economy, good jobs, people stay, state booms, plenty of tax dollars if you don't have a spending problem. Got a spending problem? Doesn't matter if we bring money in or not. Doesn't matter. It's not the fault of the companies and businesses and people that are working hard, I can promise you. All right, we got to take a break. Be right back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. If you'd like to be part of the program, your opportunity to be a voice. By the way, check with people who are doing business in the state and check with people who do business outside the state. Oil and gas guy I ran into yesterday, real nice fellow. It was great meeting him. He was saying, it's starting to pick up, and then he explained what he meant. And they're hiring people to send to Texas. We actually need them here. We actually need them to come here. And we actually need them to work here. I just wonder, how many of you people out there, I was talking about this earlier in the program, if you had to spend your money for all these people that were paraded in front of the Senate yesterday, begging for money, disability children and adults, would you rather give tax money to them or to the Boys and Girl Scouts? Would you rather give tax money to them or the Saints? Would you rather give tax money to them or all its NGOs, non-government organizations around the state that we are pouring money into by the hundreds of millions of dollars? Would you rather cut back on some contracts so we have money for them? Would you like to see somebody come up begging for tax increases for the Saints and stuff? Well, you know what? They wouldn't vote for it. It's the UEP loan design is still there, and a constitutional convention is not going to change it. Just wonder what you would rather give your money to. Let's go to Deborah in West Monroe. Deb, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Moon. I've got a little bit of a hoarse voice today. I've been listening to the show, and it's like a second wave. I remember in central Louisiana when they shut down the Central State Hospital, the Pinecrest State Hospital, UEP Loan Charity Hospital, Kraft Paper Mill. It does nothing. It didn't do anything then, and it won't better anything now. As for global warming, the fact that we've had unchecked borders with people pouring in with parasites, disease, flying in with Ebola, unchecked spending is another problem. It's just unending chaos. And until we stand up and stop our complacency and get out there and get rid of these Democrats and self-serving people that literally funnel, when they giving money to people, the government, the agreement is to funnel that money back so they can be reelected. It's nothing more than a money laundering cycle. They're going to give to people that give it back just so they can keep doing it, man.
Yeah, you're probably right. All right, man.
And it's sad.
Appreciate the call. Care. All right, 844-766-6607. Hickson has that hotline. Keith in Lafayette. How you doing, Keith?
Doing well, Moon. Listen, that clip Brandon played earlier, if you think about it, they're talking about kids today, okay? We're looking at 2- and 3-year-olds. They're not going to be able to have any type of evidence for another 20 years. And when it does come about, they're going to, not that they're going to remember, but they're just going to be able to say, oh, well, we were wrong. I remember growing up, if you made a statement, as this particular gentleman did, you better be able to prove it.
That guy cannot prove anything. You know it well as I do.
Right.
And by the way, everything they talk about, Keith, is 40, 50, 60 years up the road. You can't prove 40, 50, 60 years up the road. You can't. There's no way. And that's why they do that.
We need to get together and say, okay, if you make these statements, you better be able to prove it. If not, they shut you down. And I'm going to make this comment. It's about one of our locals, Mr. Fred. He does this commercial on Channel 15 about the opioid epidemic.
Uh-huh.
You know, and it's not just him, but all the other ones. Gerald Boudreaux, I think it is. They make the statement that you can see this evidence in the news every day. No, you don't. You do not see it every day in the news. And I know opioid is a problem. And if you're going to make claims, you better make sure they're true.
Yeah. Well, the people in the global warming movement, it's a religion. There's no truth to it.
Right.
They have no proof.
And it's all about backing Trump's decision to get us out of this climate agreement.
Well, I'm glad we got it. That was a smart move. And that was a smart move for him to get out of that. Man, that's so much ignorant in that movement, and it's so it's dumber than Obamacare. It's dumber than, if there could be something dumber than Obamacare, Obamacare is skyrocket. Obamacare is Medicaid. Subsidies and Medicaid expansion. That's it. And by the way, we can't afford neither, the way it's spiraling out of control. And then for the rest of it, it's jacked up rates. And nobody's complaining. Nobody's bickering. We're not even trying to get rid of it.
Just as Obamacare, it depends on the stupidity of the American people.
Well, let me tell you something. There are a lot of young people that believe man-made global warming is real. They really believe that crazy stuff. They really believe that, oh, my God.
It's been pounded in their heads.
Yes, and me and you have nothing to do with that. Number two, they say, well, global warming and man-made global warming, climate change has nothing to do with weather. But everything that happens in weather, they jump on it. I guarantee you, I ain't seen it yet with this volcano in Hawaii. They going to tell you the reason for this is the planet's heating up.
Global warming.
And it's global warming.
Remember we used to talk about the El Nino during season changes?
Yep.
Whatever happened to that?
I don't know.
There's a reason.
No, they quit talking about the ozone layer too.
Absolutely, because it's recovering.
Yeah, no, it's naturally recovering. It's not we doing anything to make it recover, because we can't do anything with that kind of stuff.
That's right. But again, they're beating that drum. Anything that conservatives and the president stands with, the other side stands against it. And I don't mean just Democrats; they're Republicans as well.
Let me tell you something.
Because it doesn't fill their pockets.
The man-made global warming has built up more money in people's pockets than you could ever think of. I mean, it is big time building up money in people's pocket, and it's a power grab against people like you and me who want to keep living.
And the thing is, all these people hollering and screaming, particularly Hollywood, they're the ones flying around in private jets. They're the ones causing the biggest damages, supposed damage. Another point I want to make, Melissa Milano went to the NRA convention, the protest.
Uh-huh.
Well, she had armed bodyguards around her the whole event. So they were, again, isn't that hilarious? It reminds me of a commercial she's done for, I think, UNICEF. Her statement is, no child should have to look at death in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I totally believe that. But this woman stands with abortion rights.
Yeah.
So she talks out of both sides of her mouth.
Yeah, they will kill an innocent baby in 0.2 of 1 second, and they never bat an eye. They can kill a baby, and then they'll try to save somebody who murdered 22 people with a gun, saying we don't need to kill them, the death penalty needs to go. I'll tell you this, I will trade them the death penalty, no more death penalty, if we can do no more abortions. I think that's a great trade-off for you and me. Let's give in on our principle. Let's be willing to give in. No more death penalty. But that means we have no more abortions either. Because I don't think babies ought to die when they are innocent.
I agree with you, but look, death penalty, it takes 20 years for a person to be convicted.
I know that.
To put to death.
But I'm willing to give it up on one reason and one reason only. We're going to quit killing babies before they come into this world. Although they really are. Yeah, they really are in the world when they're. All right, brother. They really are in the world when they're in the mama's womb. They really are. They're living. They're eating. They're breathing. And we kill them. The Democratic Party platform, kill a baby. Save a murdering, vicious thug, but kill a baby. How would you like to vote for that? Speaking of trash. Anyway, we got to go, Brandon. See you tomorrow. Hump day already.